Hello guys, in this challenge run, we're going to do On the Edge on challenging difficulty. This game mode does not have the enemy Baron, but it does have bandits which will steal supplies and attack early on, and we will not receive an armament delivery. But more importantly, we will have to start at the beginning of winter. This presents some obstacles with getting started since there will be no seasonal resources available such as berries or fish, which are usually really strong to get your food supplies going in the early stages. And since the weather events are on difficult, the starting supplies are at risk of getting damaged by the weather as soon as the snow comes in. Furthermore, your peasants will quickly freeze to death if they are not provided with housing and firewood as soon as possible. The residential requirements, approval, and food spoilage are all turned up to the max difficulty as well. Basically, there will be a lot of problems to solve very early on, and we'll just end up creating more if we don't approach this in the correct way. This is currently the hardest preset starting difficulty mode in the game, so we'll be using some different techniques here compared to what I would consider an ideal traditional start that I've presented in other guides. There will be a combination of some tactics from my speedruns along with very high logistical efficiency for food and approval demands. And for your reference, I've included the build order that I use in this run posted in the description. I hope you enjoy this video, and as always, let me know in the comments if you have any feedback or questions. So now onto the full run, and I'll be providing dialogue and explanations all along the way. Here we go. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do here, as usual, is go ahead and take a look at our starting resources, and more importantly, what starting resources do we have that are near by our starting settlement here. So actually this is looking pretty good. The major key here for this challenge run is making sure that you have access to hunting, and ideally nearby your starting settlement. We did get lucky here, and there is a rich hunting that is very close by our starting settlement. This is super ideal. You can spend some time re-rolling the map a few times to make sure that you do get a hunting that is nearby your starting area, or you can go ahead and just place, I like to use the hunting camp because it has no construction costs, and you can just go ahead and place this inside of the red circle anywhere the hunting area is. If you were to want to migrate the hunting area, as you can see on the tooltip, it will cause migration of the animals. So if we placed a building here, this hunting camp would move somewhere around the region to a different habitable area for the animals, and you could try to move the hunting area around to try to get a little closer to your starting camp. But in this case, looks like we've gotten a little lucky. It is also a rich deposit, which is even more convenient. But that's not the only thing that we need. That is kind of the major key for really making sure that we're able to get through the first winter without too much problem, because we're not going to be able to access, for example, this fishing deposit over here. It is December already, since we're starting in winter, obviously. And without the pond keeping perk, which we're not going to have access to until we get our town going, we cannot fish during winter. So we cannot access these fish. Similarly, if there was a berry deposit here, we wouldn't be able to access that as well until the following year when we get out of the winter. Looks like we have a regular clay deposit here, which isn't going to help us too much as far as like economy or trade or anything, but it could give us some resources to work with for leveling up our housing once we're trying to get to that max settlement level, and we need clay roof tiles for upgrading to tier 3 burgage plots. So we do have some good things that are pretty much right here, right next to our starting camp, which is pretty ideal. As I said, though, if you're trying this run on your own, the main thing that you need to think about is making sure that you have a hunting camp very close by to your starting settlement. That is a major key for making sure that you can get through this initial winter with all of the jacked up settings on the demands and the weather events and all that kind of stuff. So we'll get into it here in just a sec, but you'll see how quickly things will get lost to the weather as the snow comes in. It's very detrimental. The last thing we're looking for here is stone. We will need stone for some of our buildings that we're going to be getting up here as quickly as possible. So the stone, it is a little far away from our starting camp, but it's not too bad. So we're going to go ahead and roll with this map here. And so the first thing we're going to do, guys, is we're going to save, as I mentioned, our starting supplies. So we are starting in December. It is winter, and the weather events are on the maximum. So the snow is going to come in here within literally like 2 to 3 days, and it will start destroying our supplies within that amount of time. It happens very fast. So what we're going to do here, we're going to go like that. And we might as well road up to our ox as well. every little bit of efficiency here is going to matter. Seriously, I cannot stress that enough. So we're going to place a granary, excuse me, right here, literally right next to our starting supplies, as close as possible, okay? So we're going to go ahead and place that. I'm going to turn the market stall setup off for now. Put that on the highest priority. And we're going to focus all of our efforts on getting this initial granary up right now. Every single worker that we have, I need you building this granary, okay? Once again, you'll see how fast this happens. But once this, right here, you can see we're December 2nd. Over the course of the next 2 to 3 days, this snow is going to start falling. And we're going to start losing supplies. So we have 20 bread to start with. We're down to 19. We need to save as much as possible of this initial starting bread. Alright, so here we go. Every single worker that we have is getting this granary coming up right now. Snow is starting to fall. It's December 4th now. Okay, there we go. As you can see, we did just get our granary up. December 4th, so we're going to max out. We're going to put all 3 people in the granary. I need them to store this bread. I cannot stress enough how important this is, okay? And we're probably not even going to get all of this. You'll see probably within the next day or two, we will lose some supplies. We're probably going to lose a chunk of our bread. And as you can see, we're moving as fast as we possibly can to get this stored, and we'll probably still lose some. So let's see what happens. Yep, see, so we just lost some right here. Stocks damaged by the weather. We did just lose some bread. And I think we also lost some firewood. So, as you can see, starting out with making sure that you get these storage buildings up immediately is absolutely critical. These starting supplies need to get stored as quickly as possible. So, basically same thing we just did with the food. We're going to do the same thing here with a storehouse. Okay, turn off the market stall. Get that built as soon as possible. Okay, so it looks like they have gotten all the bread that was here, and they did get it stored. So thankfully, it looks like we stored majority of the bread. We did lose a chunk. We lost a little chunk of the bread, but you know, as you can see, it happens fast. So you gotta go very, very quickly there. And same thing with our firewood. You know, we only have a few firewood left already. We might lose all of our firewood here. Let's see if we can get that stored as quickly as possible and avoid further losses. All right, so the next thing we're going to do while that's going on, we have a couple unassigned workers. We're going to place our hunting camp here. And once again, we are pretty lucky that it's very close by. So we're just going to put that... right next to the granary here. Let's go ahead and extend our road a little bit and give them an access point straight up to that hunting area, right up to the edge of the hunting area, I should say. And we'll put our hunting camp right here. Okay, so while that's coming in, this has no construction costs, so they will not need to use the oxen. And so we're also going to place a logging camp in the meantime as well. Now this looks like a pretty ideal spot right over here. It's farther away from the animals and whatnot, so we don't want to disturb them. So let's go ahead and place that right here. Connect our road. All right, there we go. So we'll go ahead and get these tasks coming in. We want the hunting camp to come first and foremost, since that has no construction cost. That can come in very quickly. Okay, so they're storing the rest of our supplies here. Just a few stone left. Okay, that hunting camp's up. Okay, and there goes the rest of our supplies. As soon as they are done moving that into the storage, which they are done now, we're going to go ahead and take all these guys off of here. So as you can see, we only stored 1 firewood. We lost all of our firewood other than 1 firewood there. So that is a critical concern for us right now. As we can see here on the tooltip, before our villagers are able to get housing and access to firewood, they are at risk of freezing to death, right? So we have a very high risk of all of our workers right now freezing to death and starving to death. But freezing to death is definitely something that can creep up on you very quickly. So normally I would suggest you wait to start your housing. But in this case, for this challenge run, we will be getting housing up pretty quickly here because our peasants will need access to shelter and firewood. Like I said, we can't have them freezing to death. So as you saw, now that we got the initial supplies stored in our granary and our storehouse, and we don't need them doing that anymore for the time, we went ahead and double assigned the hunting camp. So we're going to get going on hunting assignments. And we got our logging camp coming in here as well because we're using pretty much the rest of our starting timbers here, and we need more coming in as soon as possible so that we can be ready for the rest of our building tasks. Another note here is comparatively to what I would consider a regular traditional ideal start in Manor Lords, I have not bought a second oxen. We're still just using the one oxen. We're going to go ahead and save our regional wealth just in case we need to place either some backyard extensions, veggie plots, etc. As you guys can see, it's a major concern here, making sure that we're staying ahead on food and our supplies and everything. And I think that this is a debatable one. You could place a second hitching post right off the bat like usual and get that second oxen coming in right away. I'm going to go ahead and not do that for this run. We're going to go ahead and keep our regional wealth, but it definitely is an option. Like I said, that is what I would recommend that you do generally. Okay, so now we have our lumber camp up. So we have our supplies stored, we have hunting going, and we have logging going. So the next thing we need to be concerned about, as we already kind of mentioned, is firewood, right? So we need to get some firewood coming in. We're going to place this just right next to this logging area. Basically, it's also very close by to our storehouse. And another thing, something I've harped on over and over again in general, is just the logistics in Manor Lords, and proximity means a lot in this game and everything. Particularly in this challenge run, as you can see how quickly the weather can set in and start dramatically affecting you in a negative way. Making sure that everything is as closely tight-knit as possible here, especially on the start, is very important. Otherwise, you could very easily fall behind, and the weather will get the best of you, and it's kind of a domino effect, right? So we really got to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible to the maximum. All right, so we do have that firewood coming in. So once we have this, the next thing we're going to do is build some houses. And once again, this is completely different than what I would suggest for, which is in my other guides for an ideal start in Manor Lords and stuff. You definitely do not want to build houses so soon in. But for this challenge run, and this is a pretty tough one, we will be building houses pretty early on here. And once again, that is because our peasants are at risk of freezing to death. And just to clarify even further with the firewood, so if we have firewood, so like right now we have one firewood, that doesn't mean that one of our families has access to this firewood and they're able to not be freezing. They cannot utilize the firewood unless they have housing. So we're going to go ahead and get some firewood right now. We got this Woodcutters Lodge coming in here, and we're going to go ahead and get some firewood coming in here. And once we have a little supply, maybe 20 or so, we're going to take that worker off the firewood and have them stock up the marketplace. But right now we're kind of front loading a little bit of work on making sure that we're stocking up some extra food from our hunting, and we're going to get firewood from our woodcutter here. And then we're going to start setting up a little bit of residential area, at least just the initial 5 first houses, so that, our first families do not freeze to death here. Okay, so here comes this firewood cutting. And what we're going to do is take one of our workers from the lumber camp and move them to the firewood cutting. Okay. So the next thing up here is going to be houses. So we do have a few planks. I think we can afford to build 2 houses to start out here. First of all, yeah, let's go. We're going to do houses right here. We should be able to place 2 houses. Yep, there we go. Let's get 2 houses coming in. Right, and once again, meanwhile, we have 1 person on wood cutting, we have 1 person on logging, and we have 2 on the hunting, and we have 1 free for guiding the ox and getting these construction tasks done. So we should see our firewood supply starting to go up. We are seeing that slowly starting to rise. So like I said, I think about 20 will be decent for our initial supply. Let's go ahead, and we have enough for another house. Just make sure that we're continuing to build houses here. I don't want to do... I know sometimes it can be good to start out with double housing as well, but I do not want to do double housing right now. We want 5 individual houses to help us reach that first settlement level for our first development point, because you need 5 level 1 burgage plots to reach that first settlement level. If you have 2 or 3 double-sized plots, even though it could house all of your initial families, you're still not going to get that settlement level upgrade until you have 5 actual houses built. So we will be building 5 individual houses here. And we might utilize some of these backyards for, like I said, a chicken coop or something like that if we need a little boost in our food. But given that we have this rich hunting deposit right next to our town, I'm thinking we're going to be okay without that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and move one of these hunters because we are getting, they're starting to make a big dent in this deposit here. We've already got a decent supply of food. I'm going to move one of them over to the wood cutting. We need a supply of firewood here as soon as possible. Okay, there's our second house. And we're going to go ahead and, like I said, keep plotting these in. Looks like we have 2 more timber available for a 4th house. And then we'll only have 1 left to go. Okay. 4. So we're getting close to having all 5 of our houses here. Alright, so it looks like the hunting camp is getting a little full here. So what we're going to go ahead and do now, we're going to go ahead and place in our marketplace. So I think right here is going to be a good spot, good as any. So we'll create a little market area right here. And marketplace. Boom. That gives us 6 stall locations. That's great. All right, so we have a little market area right here. And what we're going to go ahead and do is move these people to the granary. And we're going to turn on market stall setup. So now we want them to go ahead and get our initial food stall set up here. Okay. Things are going pretty well so far. Things, this can go south very fast. I did several playthroughs of this, kind of preparing for this run. It is a little tough to get it kind of all in one go, you know what I mean? So a lot of things have to go right, and there are a lot of things that can go wrong. So I'm feeling like we're on a pretty good trajectory here so far. Looks like our granary workers are setting up that initial food stall, and they're going ahead and stock the food supply that are at the hunting camp and move it into the granary so that it has a less spoilage rate as well. That's another thing to think about, right? We don't want to leave, we don't want to leave meat just sitting here. We don't want to leave meat just sitting here on the hunting camp, when it could, if we move it to the granary, it'll have a lower spoilage rate. We don't want to lose any food, right? Just so we lost some food to the weather, we can't lose food to spoilage or anything like that either. Very important. So I'm going to make sure that they're getting those tasks done. Looks like our 3rd and 4th house. 3rd house is coming in. 4th house will be next. We have a decent supply of firewood. So now what I'm going to do is same thing. We're going to take one of these firewood cutters and we're going to move them to the storehouse and turn on the stall. And we need them to start getting that common goods stall under construction. Start getting firewood ready for our houses that are coming in here. Okay. And last but not least, here is our 5th house. We have 5. Here's our first 5 houses coming in, right? So we have the warning still that some of our villagers are on the verge of freezing to death. We can even see, these are some of the workers that are really freezing. So They are on the verge right now. We need to get them into a house with firewood very quickly. So, real quick, another thing I'm going to do here, which is another thing that I've shown in some of my other guides, is a little information on the marketplace here. We're going to set some overstock right now because our workers that are at the Granary and the Storehouse, we have houses that are still coming in right now. Technically, they're only supplying for 3 houses, but we have a 4th and 5th house coming in. I want them to go ahead and anticipate that, like, we're going to, have more houses coming in. Let's get those supplies ready to go at the marketplace before those houses even come in, right? So we're going to go ahead and set some overstock here. And that should mean that they're going to go ahead and have those supplies ready to go at the market ahead of time. So we can see that we have, so we have food and firewood all coming into stock, being stocked here at our market stalls, and we should see them stocking some excess supply here very soon as well, since we put the overstock. See, he had 3, which was enough for our initial 3 houses, and he just added 5 more since we put a 5 overstock. Now there's 8, right? So that way, this house just came in. These 2 houses are coming in right now. They're already, the firewood that they need and the food that they need is already here, right? So that is another major key right there. So this is really good. We have our 5th house coming in. We have food being supplied. We have firewood being supplied. Now we need to think about, okay, our families are housed now, and therefore their list of demands are now fully active. So they're going to be unhappy that they don't have clothing, and they're going to be unhappy that they don't have access to the church. We also need to give them water, but that does not affect their approval. But the church and clothing is going to be bringing them down until we get that set up, of course. So let's go ahead and put a well in here real quick while we're thinking about it, just so we don't forget. And they have the water that they need. There we go. Okay, so we will worry about the clothing. We will get that situated pretty soon, but the church might have to wait a little bit because we have other priorities, which we'll be getting to soon here. So up next is going to be the Sawpit, since we will need planks to be able to build the tannery and, basically everything else that we're going to need here. So we want to place this in a location that, once again, in tight-knit vicinity here. That should be good right there. That's not too bad. Right across from the storehouse. Okay. And let's make sure that this house gets finished first. We'll put high priority on that. I need the house to get done before they're putting in the Sawpit. Okay, and I think at this point we have more than enough firewood. We're going to take off our firewood cutter and get a little more workforce for these building tasks, get these done, and then we're going to have one of them get assigned to this Sawpit once that's in as well. So as you can see, we're really micromanaging a lot of things here. There's a lot of micromanagement involved. All right, so we got our settlement level, which means we have our first development point. So you have a couple options here in this challenge run, which I would consider to be very beneficial. We have the option of going with the pond keeping, since we do have the fishing here. I don't think that's too much of a priority, though. We can really front load, a lot of the fishing during spring, since it's a seasonal resource. So we're not going to worry too much about that. It does give more fish in general. It doubles the capacity, so you have more opportunity for more fish in general, regardless of the winter. But it's not something that we're going to worry about too much. The beekeeping with the apiaries can be a very good choice here as well. It's just another food variety, another food production option that you can pretty easily integrate into any town, right? And it could help you get through some rough times where you're, lacking food, not just supply, but also, like I said, variety. If you need a second or third food type to be able to upgrade your houses even further. I'm thinking we're in a pretty good spot where we're at, though, with the rich hunting deposit that we have. And then we also have a regular fishing deposit that we can start utilizing when we move out of winter here, too. So I'm not going to worry too much about that one either. What we're going to go ahead and do is take charcoal. If you've watched my videos, I'm sure you've heard me harp on how good charcoal is for trade. I'll say it again. charcoal is pretty much the best item to sell in the game in Manor Lords. It's the GOAT for economy. So we're going to go with charcoal. As you can see on the tooltip, it turns 1 regular firewood into 2 charcoals. And I'll give you a little look here soon at the trading post. But basically, a firewood gives you like 1 regional coin, I believe. And a charcoal gives you 5 regional coin. And you're getting 2 charcoal per 1 firewood. So essentially, you're turning like 1 regional coin into 10 regional coin. It is an insane tactic for economy. Highly recommend using charcoal for basically any and all situations. It's going to help us a lot here too. All right, so we do have that Sawpit coming in next, and we're going to start getting those planks that we need. We're going to need planks for a variety of construction tasks here. And first and foremost will be the tannery, because we need clothing. Like I mentioned, we will take care of that clothing issue here quickly. But the next thing we're going to do after that is actually go ahead and build the manor. Like I said, this challenge run will kind of combine some strategies from, you know, what I would consider, you know, just regular logistical, you know, things that you would do in any playthrough, right? Making sure you have good logistics, good proximity layout, and all that kind of stuff. But we're also going to integrate some speedrun strategies here a little bit too. Real quick, we'll take a look at the map in its entirety here. We do have these bandit camps. There's one way up here, and there's one down here, and there's going to be more spawning. And we want to clear these out as quickly as possible. Otherwise, that is another thing that we could lose supplies to, is the bandits go ahead and they will steal supplies from your town. And, you know, especially while we're still in this winter period and whatnot, if they stole some of our food. Look, we only have 3 meat. We have 4 meat and 4 bread right now in surplus, right? So if they were to steal some of our food right now, we would be in a very bad spot, you know? And similar with firewood as well, like these resources are extremely valuable to us right now. So making sure that we take out these bandit camps so that they're not stealing resources from us. And on top of that, making sure that we will get the rewards from those bandit camps, such as the influence and the, more importantly, the regional wealth or treasury wealth, is going to be definitely, you know, it's a win-win, right? We want both of those things. So we'll go ahead and assign someone. Do we have timbers around? Looks like we do have some. I think before we get the Sawpit, though, we need a few more timbers. So we're going to assign a second person here to our logging camp. Let's get, I don't know, say 10 or 12 timbers, and then we can knock out some planks. And then we will be ready for the next steps. So we will need, not only are we going to need planks, but we're also going to need stone. So we will need a Stonecutter Camp as well, which once again costs planks. So we need those planks coming in, and we're going to need to put in the tannery, so we have clothing, and we're going to need to put in the Stonecutter Camp so that we get the rest of the materials for our manor, and then we'll go ahead and take those bandit camps. So that's our next order of business here. And as you can see, we're kind of on our way out of the initial winter here. We're headed into the spring, so that is huge. We have technically about one more month of winter here, February, but as you can see, we're pretty well set up. We've got the firewood that we need. No one's going to freeze to death. We are low on food, as we just kind of noted. What we can do is go ahead and just you know, reassign someone to the hunting camp real quick if we need a little boost on food supply real quick before we get into spring here. But until we run out of that food, or if bandits steal it from us, we're going to focus on what we were doing already, which was getting some planks ready. So we did get, looks like we got 10 timbers ready there. So we're going to go ahead and assign Sawpit, and let's go ahead and put make sure that they don't use all the timbers that we have. We're going to go ahead and go to the advanced settings, reserve timber, and I put it on like 6. You can put, you know, of course, whatever number you want, but just make sure that they don't, you know, just to make sure that they don't burn through your entire supply of timbers. So we should see them right here. He's transporting. We'll see them transporting the timbers over to our Sawpit, and we'll get that production rocking now. Okay, and we're not going to worry about you know, adding more houses and population growth for a little while here. Obviously, we have some more stuff that needs to get taken care of before our approval can be on the rise to the point where new people would be moving in anyways. So we're still working out some kinks here. And, you know, once again, as you can see, like, things move. There's a lot of problems that come up very quickly here in this challenge run. And so the more efficient, the more you micromanage, the more of all that kind of factors that you work on here is going to be the most beneficial for making sure that you get through this. Okay, so we got, we're up to 10 planks. Alright, and so we can build the tannery now. I want to make sure that, see this, once again, we only have the one ox right now. So, you know, we got to be careful with, we can't add too many, you know, building tasks on top of them, having to transport planks to the Sawpit here. So we got to make sure that we're thinking about that, keeping that in consideration. Let's go ahead and move that road just slightly, like over here, and we'll go tannery. Put the tannery right on the edge of the hunting area. Sorry, dear. Apologize that you have to be so close to the tannery, but you know that's the circle of life, I guess, huh? All right, so cool. We got a few planks under production. We've got that tannery coming in. And we're getting our supplies ready for our manor soon. So next thing to come in is going to be the Stonecutter Camp as well. But like I said, we're going to be careful not to add too many building tasks all at once, since we still only have one ox, excuse me. Okay. But things are going pretty well so far. We're just, you know, in this video, we're really just focusing on this kind of first year or two on this challenge run, because once you kind of get out of the you know, the initial winter and you get your town set up and you take out the bandits and you got economy and military and food and everything all kind of set up, once we've overcome all of these initial challenges, the rest of the playthrough is somewhat of a standard, you know, grow your town to the max settlement level and just, you know, continually increase production rates and all that kind of stuff, keep growing more population, etc. But getting to that point is the real challenge here on the edge challenge run. So that's what we're really focusing on. And we are, see, now we're majority through February. We're actually getting very close to March, and we'll officially be in spring. So that's a huge, that's the first major checkpoint. Like if you can make it out of the first winter into the first spring, you are definitely on the right track. You're already doing very well. Okay, so we do have, let's see, we have 29 planks. I think that's going to be okay for now. Let's go ahead and move this guy over to the tannery. And because we have, what, 7 hides laying around, which can be turned into leather for our initial clothing supply. So that's what we're going to go ahead and get done right now. And then everyone will have access to all of the residential demands other than the church, right? And that will be coming soon, TM. But first we'll be focusing on the manor. So the next building task is the Stonecutter Camp, like we already mentioned. First of all, let's take a look here, remind ourselves where the stone is. So it's a little far away, but it's not too far. What we want to do, though, is make sure that they have a road to access, and will help increase their travel speed for getting to the gathering site. All right, so we're going to go ahead and place our Stonecutter Camp here. We don't want it to be too far. We still want it to be pretty close to our storehouse. We don't. It's more ideal. You don't want to put your Stonecutter Camp like right next to where the stone is, for example. If it's pretty far from your town, it's actually better to just put the Stonecutter Camp still in your town, close to the storehouse, and then have them travel to the resources, but keep the actual production building close to your storage building. That is more ideal. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I guess right here is as good a spot as any, so we'll go ahead and place that. As you can see, the snow is melting, so we are doing very well. We're very happy about that. Our peasants are very happy about that. They're no longer worried about freezing to death, and we have plenty of firewood still sitting around. So that's why, once again, as you saw, we kind of front loaded. We had double workers on the firewood cutter for a little bit there, which got us enough firewood that now we don't have any firewood cutters, and we're not going to have to worry about it for a little bit. Okay, but what we will have to worry about here very soon is getting more food. So that's going to be, we're going to start to be able to get fishing coming in as well, since we're coming out of winter into spring. So the fishing pond will unfreeze, or defrost, I guess is the correct term. Okay, Stonecutter Camp's coming in, and okay, so we do have enough planks, so we just need the stone. So as you can see, we have enough timber and planks that we need for our manor, so we just need that. We need 5 more stone. So that's kind of our next little goal that we're looking for, is getting the 5 additional stone, then we can get that manor up. Okay, so are we done on the tannery? Looks like we are, yes. So we got all of those. Oh, looks like they're maybe working on that last hide right now. So once they're done with this last hide right here, as we can see, 1 hide still here in their inventory. Once they're done with that, right there, done. He finished that last hide. Okay, now we're going to move him to the Stonecutter Camp. And that family's going to work on getting that stone that we need for us. Okay, but now, as we can see, just like we were planning on, look at that. All of our residential demands are taken care of, other than the church, which is exactly what we were planning on there. So that's good. So at this point, unfortunately, we kind of need to keep our storehouse and granary workers on here 24/7 at this point, so they keep supplying the marketplace. So we have limited families to work with. But I'm thinking, since we have the planks and the timbers that we need currently, we're just going to go ahead and take this family from the logging camp and move them to the hunting camp for now. Okay, and let's go ahead and make sure that they have a decent reserve. Okay, alright, so they're going to go back to hunting there. We'll get some more food coming back in here. And then soon we will be able to... Oh, actually, we are in spring officially. I didn't realize it actually rolled over there. So we are March 3rd right now. As we can see, this fishing area is now available. So we're going to go ahead and put a fishing hut. And once again, similarly that we just kind of talked about with the Stonecutter Camp, ideally we would place, like, I've talked about in many of my other guides, you would have kind of a localized drop-off area for, we would have its own dedicated granary here, for example, for the fishing area if it was a little farther away from the rest of the stuff. We don't really have the option to do that at the moment, so what we're going to do is we're just going to place this fishing hut right here. Just so it's right next to our granary, and it is still very close to the pond, so this will still be, efficient enough for us. So we have, these guys are going to work on hunting for now. But once this fishing hut comes in, we're going to move them to the fishing, because we want to fish during spring as much as possible, as the fish are resupplying. The pond is constantly resupplying itself during spring. So we want to fish as much as possible during spring, so it just constantly resupplies itself and leaves us. We'll get a bunch of fish, and then there will still be some even left over for the remainder of the year if we don't fish it all the way out, as it's been resupplying during spring. So that's going to be our next food gathering priority. Okay, there we go. Fisherman's hut is up, so we're going to move these guys from the hunting to the fishing. All right, let's take a look at where we at with stone. So we're at 13, so we need 2 more stone, right? 15 stone was our goal to make sure we have enough for the manor. Okay, and other than that, as we can see, we're always going to have our 1 on the granary and 1 on the storehouse from this point, and we've got 1 on the stone cutter to make sure we get the rest of that stone. We need 2 more, and then we've got 1 on the fisherman's hut to start bringing in more food. Since we had, it looks like, what was pretty much just enough to get us through that winter period there. From the bread that we saved on our initial supply, and then from the meat that we gained from a round of hunting at the beginning. It seemed to be just enough. So really what you're going for there in the beginning, you know, you're not trying, like in that first winter, you're literally just trying to get through. You know what I mean? You're not really too concerned about like, oh, I want to get extra supplies stocked up for, after winter, etc. You're really only concerned with like, I need to get through this winter because it is a pretty big challenge. So as we can see, our fishermen, see they're starting to gather some fish for us, so that's good. Let's take a look. So we do have the stone that we need, right? So we're going to go ahead and take off our stonecutter. And we have 2 unassigned families. That's going to be all we can afford right now. We can't take off our storage workers for the market, and we're going to leave our fishermen because we need that food coming in, especially during the spring, as I already mentioned. So we're going to use these 2 unassigned workers to build the manor. All right, and you can pretty much place this anywhere. The manor doesn't really have too much significance as far as like the placement. The only thing to mainly take in consideration is the building supplies. So it does require 5 timber, 20 planks, and 15 stone, all of which are contained here at the storehouse or at the logging camp. So you have the timbers here, and then we have the stone and the planks here at the storehouse. So we got to think wherever we place this, the villagers are going to have to travel from these buildings to wherever we place it, back and forth to get all the construction supplies. So ideally, we want to place it somewhere not too far from here so that they don't have to carry a ton of building supplies all the way across the map, right? So we'll try to pick a place here. Honestly, I guess this is as good as any. Like I said, we're not going for anything like pretty or very aesthetically pleasing here, to be honest. In this challenge run, we're really just focused on survival and achieving victory. So we do have that manor coming in, and it is pretty close by to the building supplies that we're going to need to utilize, so that is fantastic. And now, just kind of looking back in hindsight, I know I said that in this run I wasn't going to get the second ox because I was really concerned about making sure we didn't use that regional wealth in case we needed it for something else. In this case, I'm feeling like we could have definitely gotten that second oxen right off the bat as usual. We could have spent where is our hitching post right here? 20 regional wealth for that second oxen right off the bat. Probably would have been worth it. But as you guys can see, so if you don't have access to a rich wild animal deposit, and say maybe you got a little unlucky when you first put down your initial granary, right off the bat, and you lost like a chunk of your bread and you were really struggling for food, what I would highly recommend doing, which is what I kind of was saving the wealth for just in case, is add chicken coop backyards to at least 2 to 3 of your starting houses. I would never recommend that you use the chicken coop, honestly, really otherwise. Eggs are probably one of the slowest producing food items in the whole game, and they're just typically not really worth like taking up a backyard spot for it or whatever. But in this case, it can be very helpful to help you get through that initial winter. If you have 2 to 3 houses that have chicken coops on it, even just the low amount of eggs that they will produce for you can be the difference to make sure that your families do not starve to death before you get to the point of maybe being able to gather fish or berries or something like that in a more bulk supply once you get out of that first winter. So I just wanted to clarify why I was kind of mentioning that you should maybe think about saving some of your regional wealth. So that's kind of up to you. As you can see here in this run, it seems like we could have we could have had a second ox here, and probably would have been pretty beneficial, and we wouldn't be, missing that regional wealth too much. But if we needed it, we had access to, as soon as we had those planks come in, we were like ready to place a couple chicken coops if needed, and that would help us get over the line. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to speed up here and make sure that this manor gets done. So once the manor is done, then we're going to go ahead and utilize one of our speed running techniques, which is using the retinue to go claim the bandit camps that are on the map here. and then we'll get the regional wealth from claiming those camps. All right, so here comes our manor here. It's about done. There we go. Manor is done. Okay, so before we focus on that, what we're going to do is we want to get our... We don't need 2 unassigned families, so we can put at least one of them back to work somewhere. So we need more timbers, right? We don't have anywhere. We only have 3 timbers. We need to get more coming in for more building tasks and for more planks. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get that going. As you can see, we are starting to get a little bit of, we got the fish is kind of balancing out with the few remaining bread and meat that we have, so that's really good. So what we're going to go ahead and do is rally up our retinue. Turn off their run command so that they don't use all of their stamina here. Alright, so obviously just this little 5-man retinue isn't good enough to do like anything on its own. But what we're going to do, which you'll see in just a sec, is basically use this as a way to just get to... We're going to kite the enemy bandits and kite around and then get to the camp and steal the camp, get the supplies, and then use the supplies, the regional wealth that we get, to hire a mercenary camp very quickly. And then we will go ahead and use the mercenary group to do the bulk of the dirty work that we need to do. And we're not going to worry too much about, we got so many other things on our plate here that we can't really worry about forming up militias and getting, spears and shields and armor and bows and arrows and all that kind of stuff produced. It's just kind of... It's going to be a little bit out of our scope, especially since we have a bandit raid coming in less than a year. It's 1 year from the start. So, we, in that time frame, along with everything else that we need to take care of here and all the other fires that we need to put out, right? Like, being able to form up, a whole militia or 2 by that time is a little bit unreasonable. So that's why we're going to go ahead and use this speed run technique here to... counteract that, essentially. All right, so now that's being said, what is our next goal for the town, right? The next goal for the town is to get the church, because that's the only thing that we're missing now for our approval, and then that's when we can start actually growing the town. But our church is still dragging us down, so we will need those materials, which let's go ahead and take a look, is going to be, once again, timber, planks, and stone. So we are producing more timbers. We assign another person to the logging camp. Once we get more timbers, then we'll be able to make more planks, and then we're going to need to assign someone to the Stonecutter Camp here as well. Now, actually, at this point, I think we can go ahead and use all of... We don't need an unassigned family at the moment because the ox is not being used for anything, and we don't have any building tasks. So we're going to go ahead and take our unassigned family and put them on the Stonecutter Camp. Usually you want to have at least one unassigned family because typically you have tasks going on that require someone to move, guide the ox, or you have building tasks going on or something like that. At this current moment, we don't have any of those things going on, so we're just going to go ahead and use every family that we have available. All right. Now, while that's going on, it's going to take them a little bit to catch up on those supplies. So as you can see, our retinue is heading up here, and as you can see, we've already aggroed these bandits. So what we're going to do is start... We don't want to run right into the bandits. What we're going to try to do is run around the bandits. We're going to kind of run around in a wide, like an arc, wide circle around the bandits. At this point, I think we can turn on sprint because we want to make sure we stay ahead of the bandits. And we're going to sprint around like so. So now, as you can see, we've positioned ourselves. The bandits are now behind us, and we're heading for this camp here. So we're going to go ahead and run into this camp. All right, and the bandits are chasing us. They're behind, but as you can see, we got to that camp, and now we have the rewards. So we'll take the treasury wall, okay? And like I said, we just got 189 treasury wealth from taking that bandit camp. Now the problem is, these bandits they don't go away when you take the camp, right? So they're still chasing our retinue, and our retinue, if they engage with these bandits, they're gonna die. Like, these 5 retinue cannot take on an entire band of bandits. So we're gonna go ahead and hire mercenaries. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and take this one, the green camps. We don't necessarily need like all these units to take care of just a couple bandit camps, but just to make sure that we don't, lose any of our own units and such. Because if we took only the archers, we probably would still need to use some of our retinue. And if we took the thugs, then we'd probably still need to use our retinue to help out as well. And we don't want to use any of our retinue soldiers for the actual combat, because if we lose even a single retinue unit, then we cannot re-summon them. You need to have a minimum of 5 retinue soldiers available to be able to rally them up. So if we lose even just 1 retinue soldier, we will not be able to re-rally them unless we purchased, at least 1 or 2 or however many we lost to get back up to 5. We would need to spend the treasury wealth to get those retinue soldiers back. Otherwise, we will not be able to re-rally our retinue if we needed them for any reason. So we're going to try to we don't want to use our retinue for actual combat at this point. So now that we got the camp, see, we got the mercenaries, see, they're heading up. So now the mercenaries are going to head up here, and they are going to take care of the bandits. And then they're also going to go ahead and move up the rest of the map and take the other bandit camp over there as well. And then we have a little bit of leeway with some treasury wealth sitting around for when the bandit raid comes. We can purchase more mercenaries in anticipation of that and defend our town. As you can see, they just stole some of our firewood, right? So that's kind of the concern that I was bringing up earlier, is like, if those bandits steal some of your firewood and food when you're in, a desperate situation and you're trying to get out of the winter or whatever it is, that can be extremely detrimental. So taking care of these bandits as quickly as you can is definitely a priority. Alright, so we're going to have these guys take out these bandits here. Should be no problem. Yep. Alright, so now we're going to have these guys just head on up here, and they're going to go ahead and take the other bandit camp that's up there. So they're heading across the map. We'll let them do their thing. Alright, and back to our town here. Let's take a look. So what we were doing is gathering our resources for the church, right? So we need timber, planks, and stone. So it looks like we're still a little bit of a ways out on that. But as you can see, our approval, despite all the issues that, we're facing here, our approval is still totally fine, right? Like, we're not in the green, of course. We're not at the point where we're actually growing our town, but we have not even gotten anywhere close to the red, where approval is an actual concern, right? The real concerns have been just survival, making sure your families aren't freezing to death and or starving. So, but now we're at the point where we should be kind of moving past that. We shouldn't really be worrying about such basic concerns. Now we should be worrying more about, like, how do we expand the town from here? The foundation that you have for your town here is going to be a little rougher than usual, since we made some sacrifices and used some different techniques than we normally would have. Just, for the survival and all that kind of stuff. But alright, once again, we're just gonna take out these bandits here, no problem. Easy peasy. I'm gonna go ahead and move up here, grab the camp. Here we go. And we'll take that for the treasury once again. Okay, and then as you can see, there's 5 days left on their contract until we have to pay them 90 treasury wealth again to roll over to a new month. But we've already completed we got all the bandit camps that were on the map here. We don't need these guys for the time being anymore, so we're just going to go ahead and let them go. And that way we only paid them one time. We used them for what we needed to, and now we have... Look at that. We have 230 treasury wealth sitting around ready to go. So if anything happens, right, which in this case is going to be, we have a raider attack coming basically by the end of this year, very quickly into the game, we're already ready for that. We can go ahead and head in here, and we could purchase this one, the flock of crazy geese, and the battle brothers, right? Like, we could have a pretty sizable army here at a moment's notice, just using our treasury wealth that we gain from that. So that is a huge boost in that reason. Once again, it's a bit of a hybrid strategy here where we used some of our speedrun techniques there in combination with some, you know, town management, micromanagement, resource distribution, etc. going on here. So hopefully, you know, these kind of hybrid techniques are something that you're able to, you know, utilize in a variety of ways for yourself. Okay, so let's take a look here once again. So we need 5 timber, 20 planks, and 10 stone. So it looks like we have the stone that we need. So we're going to go ahead and move our stonecutter family. We're going to move them to the Sawpit. Okay, there we go, because we have the timbers that we need. We just need more planks at this point. So once they knock out those planks, then we'll be good to go ahead and place this church in. And then at that point, our approval will actually be starting to rise. And then we can think about placing more houses for more population growth, etc. Right? And one of the things that we're also going to do, thinking ahead to adding those houses, is we're going to add a couple houses, at least one that has a massive backyard extension, as we've done many times in many of the guides, and add in some very large vegetable garden backyards. We could consider, if we level up our town again, to go into the orchard development point as well, and also place some orchards. These will help us now that we're kind of getting to the point where we're like, you know, our town is okay now, and we're really now at this point we need to think about like how do we really ramp up our production on our food, and you know, in turn our approval and such, right, to make sure that we are constantly getting new families to move in. So the backyard extensions with veggies and apples are definitely some of the best. That's some of the highest fruit production in the game for very minimal investment and labor requirements compared to other options. So that is what we will be going for. So it looks like we are almost there. We just need a bit more, 5 more planks.
Come one, come all. Feast your eyes on our fine selection.
Feast your eyes. All right, so there we go. We got the planks that we need. So we're gonna go ahead and take these guys off the Sawpit, and let's see. Yeah, we'll take them off the Sawpit and the logging camp for now. We want at least 2 families available. Once again, same thing as when we built the manor. Building your church here, you got a lot of supplies that need to be transported to the construction site. So we'll try to keep it close by and make sure we have a couple families available to do all of these, all this labor. And we want to kind of, the manor didn't matter so much with the placement as far as like where it is in the town. Doesn't have any effect once it's built. But the church does, because families, all your families will constantly go to the church to pray. So what we're going to do here is actually, let's go ahead and relocate our logging camp to the other side of the road, and then we'll put the church here.
Step right up and sample.
It would be nice if we could want them to move these supplies out of the way, would be great, and then we can put it in a little bit closer, would be even better. That might take a little bit though. Yeah, so once again, like I mentioned earlier, having the second ox here, you know, would be great to help us get all this stuff done. But we're making it happen even just with 1 ox, so hopefully, you know, that can kind of show you that, you know, you can even make it happen even without having the most efficient building task timing and all that kind of stuff as well. So, all right, they are moving the logs. Moving the logs, and then I want to put the church. I feel like it's still not going to let us quite go right there. Okay, so it looks like a new bandit camp was sited, so we're going to have to take care of that, right? So once again, we can't have those bandit camps just out there eating our supplies. See, this is like literally just the same exact like bandit you know, group that we would be fighting, so it's a little sketchy going one-on-one. I mean, we can try it though, just to make sure we spend the least amount of coin. Okay, so, oh, well, they spawn right here, right next to the camp, so that's not too bad. So we'll have them charge in, and hopefully they win this battle here. Get him, lads. It's going to come down to the wire. All right, they got it. Nice. Okay, cool. So we'll take that camp. And since we only spent 15 coin, we're going to gain 200 coins. So we just had a map. Once again, we can let this group go. We don't need them anymore. Just like that. See how easy that is now. Look, we're up to 415 treasury now. So every time a bandit camp spawns on the map, you can go ahead and just hire up a mercenary squad, take care of it, and you can let them go, and then you're ready for the next round, right? So that's the strategy that you basically use for the remainder of the playthrough here. All right, these last logs are being moved. There we go. Now we can place our church right here. Oh, look at that. Perfect. That is exactly what we wanted. All right. It's kind of, you know, right in the heart of things here. It's not far away. Because once again, you know, say someone's working here at the Tannery, or they're working here at the Stonecutter Camp, or they're working at the logging camp, etc. At some point, randomly, you know, periodically, consistently, they'll be like, hey, I want to go pray. And they're going to travel to wherever the closest church is. So having it, you know, as close as possible, once again, close proximity, all that kind of stuff, very important. Helps their productivity and efficiency. All right, church is finishing up. Here we go. Look at that. It's a beaut. All right. Cool. So let's go ahead and reassign back to logging camp one person. And since we don't need the ox for anything anymore, our wild animal deposit has resupplied back to full, so we're going to put one on the hunting camp. That's all of our workers. Once again, you got to make sure if you don't have any unassigned workers, that you don't have any building tasks or any tasks that require the oxen. Like, for example, if we had the Sawpit staffed right now, we would need an unassigned family, because otherwise there's no one to guide the ox to drop off the supplies to the Sawpit. Like the workers at the Sawpit, they can't do that. Unfortunately, yeah, which kind of, you know, it doesn't make too much sense. I think it, you know, could be revisited from a development standpoint potentially, but that's just how it works for now. So just keep that in mind, right? So always, you know, micromanaging your workforce, especially in the early stages here. We've been working with just the same 5 initial families that we started with the entire time, right? We still haven't grown our population at all. So we've gotten a lot done with just our 5 initial families here, especially considering how much obstacles there are on the beginning, right? Okay, so as we can see, I did just create a new building task by moving that hitching post. And then we're also going to start up some other building tasks here real quick. So we're actually going to take off our fishing person now, because we've done all the fishing during the spring. We're no longer in spring. So the amount of fish that are here in this fishing pond now will remain until winter, until it freezes over. So we can fish the remainder of these, the remainder of this pond pretty much at any time, you know. It's really during the spring that you want to hit it hard, whether it's berries or fish. Once again, talk about this in detail in other of my guides here on my channel for food production and such. But while the fish or berries are resupplying during spring, you really want to hit them hard and get the maximum amounts. Okay. So we did move our... moving the hitching post was just more of a, you know, we just want the oxen to be a little closer to the logging camp. Looks like he's got a interesting tooltip here. Problem ID _35. That's interesting. All right, so they're going to move the ox back over here. All right, so that's better now. The ox is closer to the logging camp. Okay. Things are, you know, things are looking quite good here. All right, so at this point, like I said, our approval is going to start going up. So now we want to think about, we need more houses. We need more housing available. Okay, and like I said, we want to place at least one or two. That's like a massive backyard extension for a vegetable farm. So, once again, ideally we'd want it to be like literally right next to this granary and the marketplace and all that kind of stuff for maximum efficiency. Due to the fact that we had to set up our initial settlement here in such a tight knit proximity, we kind of, we didn't really necessarily think ahead too much about like, oh, we want to put like a big vegetable backyard here that's going to be right next to the granary and all that kind of stuff. So we'll just go ahead and place it like back here. It's not too big of a deal. You know what I mean? So what we're going to do is use our technique that we've done before in other guides, and we're just going to map out with some roads here a very large backyard area. And you can use the farming tool, the field tool, to kind of get an idea of like how big of a backyard size are we talking here. 1 Morgan is decent. We'd like it to be more like 1.5. So we'll just make it even a little bit bigger. Okay, and let's take a look at what kind of size we're working with now. Okay, see, so that's pretty. It might be a little bigger than we want, but that's fine. So we'll go ahead and put in. There we go. This housing plot, as you can see, look at that. Like the house is just this little tiny sliver right here, double housing extension, so we can have the max amount of families living here, and then a massive backyard area which will be filled with veggies. And that's going to help us big time as we are growing our town and our population here. So first of all, we just need more housing space in general because our approval is going to start going up, and as we come into a new month here, will be August coming up next. We'll see. We might not get it in this next month. We'll see. But if we do, obviously we want to be ready and make sure we have a house available and that we don't lose that opportunity for a new family moving in there. And we'll go ahead and expand this living space right here because we want this to be double. Okay. And that is finishing up. Okay, excellent. So we'll go ahead and plot in that veggie farm right there. And as you can see, look at that. I mean, that is just a massive production area right here. This is going to yield us a very, very high amount of vegetables, which will help us out as we're growing our town. Once again, it would be a little more ideal if it was slightly closer, like if it was one of these houses here, for example, that extended out and the front of it was right here. That way the granary workers, they have a very short distance to go to gather the produced veggies and stock them up and make sure that that's all, moving as efficiently as possible. This will work though. Like I said, the main priority here is making sure that you get through that first winter. And it will kind of, that's why I say it will kind of create some situations where you're like, oh, this is going to be a little different than like the traditional standard town layout or startup that I would usually do. But that's okay. This is a different challenge, different type of challenge. All right, so as we can see, look at that approval. It is on the rise. It is on the rise. Okay, so we might get a new family coming into August here. We're going to hope that that's what happens. It might drag us down a little bit because it does factor in an average with some of the previous months, as long as there are still negatives there. So we'll see if we're good enough, though. We might be. That's what we're hoping for. Okay, and the other thing that we're kind of starting to get concerned here with, it's been on my radar. I did see a notification pop up here, running out of fuel. As we can see, we only have a couple firewood left over in overstock. So that's a very easy problem to fix, though. We have our Woodcutter Lodge right here, and we can very easily just put a family on that and restock on that. So we're gonna do that here in a quick second. maybe we can move our hunting family, for example. Let's take a look at our logging. No, we want them to max out on that. So yeah, I'm thinking we're going to go ahead and move our hunting camp temporarily to the wood cutting. We've got a good amount of food. We did gather a few more hides as well. Look at that. We got 12 hides. We can make some more leather for more clothing available as we're getting more families moving in. So yeah, it's telling us we need more fuel once again. So we're getting that fixed up right now. And let's just go ahead and make sure that these woodcutters never go over here to the animals area. We want to make sure that they do not disturb that area. Good.
Fresh meat. Get fresh meat here. No finer cuts in all the land.
Okay, and just as always, I mean, the more roads you build to all the different access points, even for them to go out into the forest for gathering supplies and everything, all helps. All right, so it looks like we did actually get our approval was still in the green here when we rolled over to August to the new month, and we did get a new family moving in. So they are officially moved in here. Awesome. Okay, so we want these guys to be dedicated to starting this vegetable farm. So we're going to assign them to the church or gravedigger. We can go ahead and place a corpse pit to have more gravedigger spots available. This can go literally anywhere. It doesn't matter. Somewhere out of the way is better, you know, since we're utilizing the space here. We kind of have a tight-knit space going on. But yeah, so people that live here, I like to, once again, this is another thing that I've explained in many of my guides, is I like to assign the veggie workers to either, you know, the church or a corpse digger. It assigns them as a grave digger profession. And all that means is that as a grave digger, their priority is to bury deceased villagers or warriors or whatever that are within the proximity of the town. And obviously 99% of the time, that's, you know, that's not a factor. So basically these guys are not going to have any, they're not going to have any task, and therefore they're just going to focus on their plot, their veggie plot, and that's what we want. Because they got to start, this is a lot of work for them to get through. Obviously just the one family is not going to be able to do enough. You know, they're going to need that second family, which will move in here in the coming month. And then when the house gets upgraded to tier 3, then it gets double the space, and then they'll have up to 4 families, at which point the 4 families will be able to get through this entire plot, like, constantly, and you'll be having extremely high yields from any sort of plot that you have set up like that. But, you know, we're baby steps right now. We're getting them started. Okay. Firewood is back in supply. We'll get them we'll, you know, make sure we get, like, I don't know, August. You know, let's get like 7 or 8 months worth of fuel. Probably, you know, that'll be fine, just to make sure that we're not worried about it during the winter and stuff like that. So we're just going to leave them on the firewood cutter for a little bit longer and make sure that they stock up more fuel. Okay. And, you know, there's one more free housing space right here that they're going to move into, so we can think ahead about, you know, creating more housing spaces as well for the coming months after that. And then the other thing that we're going to think about now that we have pretty much the rest of our stuff established is some trade. So we can go ahead and build a trading post. I'm going to go ahead and place it right here. It's very close to the King's Road, and it's also very close to our storehouse and where we're going to be getting the supplies that we're going to be selling. So trading post right there should be great.
Keep your half warm.
Excellent. And, you know, trade is always important. You know, it's definitely always important. I will say, though, like, based on how we've done this with using the speedrun technique to make sure we got those bandit camps and we have such a strong treasury and such right now, the economy here is a little less important than usual, right? So we already have majority of the stuff that we need to survive. right? So economy is just gonna, at this point, it's just gonna help us as we're continuing to grow our town and our population and stuff. It's just gonna help us, but it's not necessarily a make or break, life or death component when you're getting started and you're trying to make sure that you once again focus on survival, right? So now we're going to shift our priorities. We're kind of set on survival, right? So we're kind of shifting our priorities a little more towards like economy, growing of the town, ramping up approval, ramping up food supplies, all that kind of stuff, right? So we are getting very close to the point of like, at this point you just grow your town like you normally would, right? But we do have that bandit raid coming in, 94 days, about 3 months, right? So by the end of the year here, we're going to have a bandit raid. And once again, we're going to be ready for it because we have the treasury and we're going to be able to hire mercenaries and it should be no problem. But yeah, basically once we get past that point, we've wiped out the bandit camps from the map. We've survived the initial weather issues. We've survived the initial bandit raid. We've got our town established. We're growing, all that kind of stuff. That is the point where it's like, okay, you've pretty much, got this challenge in the bag, and you just need to, you just need to see it out. You just need to see it out to the end where you reach that large town settlement level, and then you officially win the on the edge. Alright, so trading post is coming in here. We did get that second family moved in here for our veggie farm, Burgage Plot. So as soon as this trading post is done, because I didn't want to interrupt that because they were undersigned and they were working on building that, we're going to move these guys to that corpse pit. There we go. Once again, now our veggie workers are just completely focused on plowing and getting this field ready for vegetable hauls. Excellent. All right. And our lumber camp, I'm thinking we're good on logs for now. We're going to go ahead and take off that worker. And we're going to go ahead and, let's see, September. So we can harvest animals. We can hunt during the winter, but we cannot fish during the winter. So we're going to go ahead and get the rest of this fishing done. Try to get the rest, if we can. It would be great to get the remainder of the fish that are left in the pond here and have that all stocked up. I'm thinking once they're done using the oxen here to pull in these logs from the forest area, we're going to go ahead and there we go. We don't need an unassigned family anymore. They're done using the oxen. We're going to put a second one here on the fisherman's huts. And we want to make sure that we get all the fish, the maximum. If we can get the rest, if we can get all 290 out of here by the time it reaches December and it freezes over, that would be amazing. Not sure if that's going to be possible or not, but we will see. We're at kind of the beginning of fall here, so yeah, we're racking up as much supplies as we possibly can here as we are approaching another winter. And we're going to want to think about upgrading our storage buildings here soon as well, so they have access to more hand carts as well as more storage space, but more specifically, we want the extra hand carts for more efficiency. But we're going to need a bit more supplies for that. We're going to need some more planks, which we're going to get under production here very soon as well. We just don't really have the free families available for it at the moment, but we will. One thing that we need to do, actually, a little bit of a lapse here. We're not going to be able to fix this at this point. It's too late. It's already September 30th. I forgot to get up another house. We should have another family moving in here at this point. But we don't have another. We forgot. It's something that I forgot right here. So just note for yourselves, like, it's very important that you don't miss a window for another family to move in. So unfortunately there, see, we just rolled over to a new month and we did not have a free housing space available. So we're going to miss that window. But we'll go ahead and we're going to get a couple houses placed in here just to make sure we don't miss the next upcoming windows. But yeah, once again, that is that was a little bit of a lapse there. We missed that. So You definitely want to make sure that you're getting, let's unassign our woodcutting family real quick to get this construction done. You want to make sure that once you've got that approval up and you're at the point where your approval's staying up and you're able to grow your population, you don't want to miss any months of getting new families to move in, as long as you have the supplies to back it up and whatnot. Which, shouldn't be a problem once you're at this point, so. So once again, yeah, try to, don't make that mistake. Don't make the mistake that I just made there, and, we should have one more family than we have right now. So, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. So now we got that construction done. Let's check in on our fuel. We have 7 months supply of fuel. I think that's pretty good. We're not going to worry about it for the moment, and we can always reassign them literally at any point. So let's get even a third person on this fishing right now. Once again, I want to get as much of this fish out of this pond before we get to winter here and the pond freezes over. Because we can hunt, once again, we can hunt during the winter, but we cannot fish. Okay. So we're getting close to November here, at which point we're going to have, just about one more month, and then it's winter again. So we'll see. Hopefully they can get, most of these fish out of here, and we'll have those in our supply. And then during winter, we're going to go ahead and focus on, we're going to get some more planks produced, and we're going to get hunting under production again. So once again, micromanaging our workforce and constantly moving people around to the different tasks that are relevant for the time. There we go. We got a new family moving in here in November. Once again, we missed the last one, but that's okay. We'll put them on woodcutting for now, just because we don't need that unassigned family. And once again, as soon as we hit winter here, we're going to move our fishermen over to other tasks. So we've got probably a couple more weeks here of seasonal fishing. We want to get as many of these fish out of here as we can. We're making a pretty big dent. And we've got good supplies. So, things are looking good. As we can see down here, we've got about, 2 weeks or so until that raider attack is coming. So I'm going to go ahead and preemptively, we're going to think ahead, and we're going to go ahead and let's get the flock of crazy geese, because that has 2 melee units and a archer unit. So we're going to go ahead and hire that company. We have more than enough. Okay. And see, so this is kind of why I thought ahead about that's coming in 2 weeks. Let's go ahead and hire those mercenaries now, because as you can see, our mercenaries spawned in way across on the other side of the map. So it's going to take them some travel time to get over here to our town. So that's why we went ahead and we made sure to get that going a couple weeks ahead of time in anticipation of that bandit attack coming. Alrighty, and let's see, November 23rd, so we're almost, got one more week here. How far are our mercenaries? See, they still got a ways, man. Let's put them on sprint, because those raiders are going to be here in just a few days. So we probably could have even done that a little sooner, even, to be honest. So there is another bandit camp that just spawned too. We're going to focus on defending our town first, and then we'll go ahead and get that bandit camp. Okay. So here we go. We just hit December. We are in winter now. As we can see, the pond is now freezing, so they are no longer able to fish. So we're going to go ahead and deassign all of those people who were on the fisherman hut, and we're going to put one on the Sawpit and one on the hunting camp, and that still leaves us with one unassigned, so they can go ahead and bring the supplies with the ox to the Sawpit. And we're producing planks and meat and hides now during the winter. Okay, and that bandit camp is coming very soon. It's about to hit. So here's our mercenaries. Enemy unit has been spotted. Okay, so it looks like the enemy bandits are they're coming from the other side of the map. So there's a little bit of RNG here. Sometimes, when you have a bandit attack, they will spawn very close to your town, and you have very little time to react. which is why we were anticipating moving these troops down. If they spawned near our town, we would have gotten there like just in time. But now we can see, you know, we don't have to worry too much about that. So we're going to go ahead and just bring them back up here, because as we can see, that is also where this bandit camp has spawned, all the way at the top of the map as well. So we're going to move our troops back north and take care of the incoming bandits that are heading towards our town, and then we'll go ahead and move, continue moving on and take that bandit camp. All right. So our winter tasks are underway. As we can see, we're starting to get more planks coming in, and we are starting to get meat and hides again. Those are all good things. Okay, and we went ahead and we used our last open residential space.
It was simply a bad batch. These things do happen from time to time.
Do they? Do they now? Some of the voice lines are funny. All right, we're going to add a couple more houses. Once again, you know, this is not a super ideal like town layout or anything. We are just we're making it happen. We're working with the space that we had in the beginning and prioritizing based on, you know, what is necessary for survival. So we got a few more houses coming in here. Oh, see, those stupid bandits took some of our hides there. That's unfortunate, but we have still plenty more, so that's okay. All right. As we can see, as we weren't paying attention, we ran into the bandits over here. We'll get them knocked out. And this is a pretty easy, straightforward battle here. Get the archers behind, shoot into them, they're toast, yeah. Alright. And we're just going to go ahead and move the rest of our forces up to the top of the map to take that bandit camp, like I said. So we went ahead and took out the bandits that were coming to attack our town. Now we're going to get that bandit camp that spawned on the map, and then we're done with our mercenaries again for the time being. Okay. Keep your home cozy. All right, so we do have two unassigned families. We've got another family, so we have another unassigned family. So we can go ahead and use them on. I want to put them on the tannery because we want these hides turned into. We need more clothing for the additional houses that are being put in here now. So we'll get those hides turned into leather. So as you can see, we stocked up. Look, we stocked up on a very large amount of fish coming into the winter here. So now, as we're gathering meat during the winter, it's slowing down the rate that we're consuming the fish, and then it's also adding that second food variety. So all of our houses right now, you can see they're all eligible for an upgrade right now. Every single house has every single approval demand fulfilled. We're not going to upgrade them right now because we're not ready for the next tier of approval requirements. But as you can see, we're in a very good spot, right? And let's go ahead and check in with these guys again. Okay, looks like we killed the bandits. Now we're going to take the camp. Alright, take that treasury and we'll release these guys. We're done with them. And there we go. Just like that. So we went ahead and nullified the early bandit raid, which is one of the other challenges of this On the Edge challenge run. And we took out the additional bandit camp that spawned there. They stole some hides from us before we did that, but it's okay. All right, so additional housing is coming in. We have hides being turned into leather. We have planks under production. Yeah, I mean, like, everything is looking really good. And so once we get a decent amount of planks, we can start selling them at the trading post. And then also, we did get that, we took that charcoal development points. So we can go ahead and start producing charcoal, because that's going to be one of the main things that we're going to be selling here. So we're going to actually put it real quick. These voice lines are, I don't know which category it's coming from. Ambient voice lines are turned off, but they're going a little crazy. All right, well, we're just gonna work with it. All right, so
Get your fresh meat.
get your fresh meat. All right, so we're gonna put this charcoal. We want it to be, once again, we want it to be near our, you know, production and storage and near the trading post and all that. So over here is probably fine. So like I said, we're gonna go ahead and get through this next winter here, and we're gonna set up a little more infrastructure, some trade, you know, some economy stuff. Make sure that we're really set for growth here. We'll probably reach the next settlement level and whatnot, but then from that point, it's gonna be pretty much, as I said, a standard process of growing your town from that point, because the main challenge here is the first year or two and getting through those obstacles with the weather events and the bandits and all that kind of stuff, which is everything going against you in the beginning. But you know, once you kind of reach this point, as we're coming into year 3 here, we are reaching the point where it's like, okay, we've pretty much we've conquered all of those obstacles, and now we're pretty much just in the process of growing our town as if it was any other town that we've established, you know. So we're going to go ahead and, like I said, we'll get a couple more things set up here and make sure that I leave you guys with, you know, all the best knowledge and information that you need to be able to try this challenge run on your own. But then, yeah, that's going to be, from there, you guys should be good to go to grow your town for the remainder, or you can feel free to, you know, like I've mentioned throughout the video here, I have many different guides and such on my channel that cover a lot of these topics.
Finest hides in all the land. Perhaps it was definitely a bad cop.
Dude, these guys
Time.
these guys at the market are really, they're really hawking their goods, you know? Okay, so the hides are just about all done. Looks like there's one more hide, then we'll take them off the tannery. They don't need to be working at the tannery when there's no hides to work with, of course. Okay, looks like they got that last hide there. Here it is. They're gonna... We do have more hunting going on, so there will be more hides coming in, but we're gonna take them off of that for now. It's not a super big priority. Instead, we're gonna go ahead and start rocking some charcoal. Alright, so 1 on charcoal, and then we're going to put 1 on our trading post. We still have 1 unassigned worker. So first thing we're going to trade is planks, because we need enough to be able to get the major trade route for charcoal. So we need 50 regional coin. We spent 15 on this veggie plot, and if you bought the second oxen off the start, then you would have spent another 20 on that. So either way, you're going to have to, I recommend selling some planks. It's the easiest thing to sell right off the bat. So I'm just going to do export, and we'll leave a little surplus, and we just want to make sure our family that's here gets a little bit of planks stocked up. And our goal is to just get up to 50 coins so that we can purchase that trade route for the charcoal, and then we're going to really focus on selling charcoal. Because as I've explained before, charcoal is by far the best, most profitable item to sell in the game. You can do it in any region. You don't need a specific resource node or anything. You just need trees, which are in any region, and you just need to spend 1 development point. So they are going to stock up those planks.
Fresh meat. Get your fresh meat here. No finer cuts in all the land.
Okay, there we go. See, we're starting to get planks on here. There we go. Very good, very good. All right, so that's fine for now. You just want to make sure that you have some planks sitting on the trading post, and then the traveling traders will come by and they can go ahead and purchase these, whether there's someone actively working there or not. So in the meantime, let's upgrade our storehouse. We are getting close to capacity, but more importantly, we want additional hand carts, which will increase our productivity and efficiency. So let's get that underway. Looks like we do have a traveling trader coming by. Hopefully he will buy a few of our planks. Let's see. Here he comes. And boom, look at that. He bought 10 planks, which gave us 20 regional wealth. And then next thing you know, we have enough for our charcoal trade route. So we're going to go ahead and unlock the charcoal trade route. And we're going to set that to export. And we don't need any surplus. We're just going to sell as much as possible. All right. And actually, we will also turn off the trade on planks. I'm not really you know, I'm not really trying to sell planks unless we really have to. All right, so we got that storehouse upgraded. That's fantastic. Now they have more hand carts, more storage. That's great. We're going to put that family back on the trading post now that we have the charcoal going. Okay, and then it looks like we still have one free housing available over here, so that's fine. Everyone is good on demands, it looks like. We don't have anyone missing anything. That being said, if we check in on our marketplace here, it looks like we're getting into the red on capacity for our granary and our storehouse, so we will want to add a second worker to both of these storage buildings, one to the storehouse and one to the granary, and increase, we need a second food stall and a second common goods stall here at the marketplace, and we'll continually just keep checking in on this and adding more workers to make sure we're not in the red on these categories as we're continuing to grow our town. But regardless, we can see that everyone does have everything that they need. You know, if we hover over all these categories, we can see every single house that is occupied does have all the goods that they are requiring. So we're good for now, but we do got to keep in mind that, like, we are in the red on our capacity, which means if we, you know, we start getting more families moving in, we have more supplies coming in, etc., they're going to need additional workers assigned to those storage buildings so that they can make additional stalls and be able to accommodate all those, you know, additional resources and whatnot. So, all right, we can see now we're starting to stock up charcoal here. We got 20, 30 charcoal, right? So this is huge. The more that we sell of the, like the next goal here, we want 30. Well, we want to get a horse. Having a horse will be really big for our trade. Having the traveling traders be able to utilize the horse to go to the trade points and sell bulk items and the major trade items is huge for trade. So once again, all information that's included in more detail in other guides here on my channel, but just kind of, you know, just want to show how all of these all of this information, all of these strategies can kind of be put into use here, you know. Excellent. So there we go. Look at that. We just made a 25 coin trade, and next thing you know, we've got the regional wealth that we need for our horse. So we're going to go ahead and order that horse, and that means they're going to need the hitching post. We'll put that right here, right next to our trading post. That's going to be the hitching post for the horse. So that way, if our trader needs access to the horse, it's right here. Perfect. Okay, so we did kind of, we went through all of our timbers that we had available while we were making those planks. So we're going to go ahead and stop on planks for now and start getting timbers coming back in at the logging camp. All right, and it would also be really good to make sure that we are replanting. We want to replant the trees that are around this area because otherwise, you know, they just continually need to, like, travel farther and farther and farther to keep getting more firewood or logs. So we'll put a forester's hut here, and we want to make sure we're continually replanting trees like in this proximity that's close to the gathering buildings. Okay, and we still have one family free to make sure we have that, you know, unassigned available as well. And we're going to tell them, I want you to replant trees all around here. Right, so that way this area that's close by our wood production areas is constantly replanted. Okay, excellent. So looks like we burned through a decent amount of the hunting area. So what we're going to do is move these guys to the fisherman's hut because once again, we are back. We are back in March, and the pond is resupplying again. So it's time to start fishing. As you can see, we've got a solid supply. I mean, look at this. We've got 13 months of fuel, 5 months of food. We've got 370 treasury wealth. We've got trade rocking right now. I know we don't have any regional wealth at the moment, but as you guys saw, we do have trade going. And with this charcoal that we're going to start selling, especially once our horse gets here and our traveling tradesman is going to be able to do bulk sales consistently, we're going to have your economy is going to be fine. We're going to have more than enough regional wealth. We're going to be totally set here. So one of the things that we need to like think ahead about is upgrading our church, and then even farther down the line, upgrading houses. So we need clay available for both of those things, because we're going to need to make roof tiles for the upgraded church and roof tiles for our tier 3 housing. So we're going to think ahead about getting clay coming in. Once again, we do have this clay pit right here, so we'll build a mining pit, and we'll start slowly bringing in some clay resources and getting ready towards that goal. As we can see, if we want to upgrade the church, then we're going to need more stone, and we're also going to need those clay roof tiles. So we're going to be thinking about that. Let's go ahead and assign someone to Stonecutter, and also we can let's be aware that we
Poor quality, he said. Impossible.
we use the rest of our housing space as well. Once again, let's throw in a couple more. There we go. Make sure we're always staying ahead of having available housing. Okay, so I don't know if you saw that right there, but that was a plus 250. So if we check here in the trade tab, so we can see right here, this is our traveling tradesman, someone that's assigned at our family, that's assigned to the trading post, and now they have access to that horse. He just went and sold 50 charcoal all at once on the horse for a bulk trade for 250 regional coin to the trade point. So just like that, look, we got 200, and he's going to do that basically every time he takes a load. That's how it's gonna work. So you can see now our economy is strong. We're totally fine in all aspects. Soon when you get even more regional wealth, you could start implementing some taxes as well. It's not really necessary though, since we have treasury sitting around enough for purchasing the mercenaries that we might need. So I'm not really too concerned about taxing or anything like that. Once again, our economy is more just kind of to help us grow our town. It's not a necessity for surviving here. All right, so there's that mining pit. So we need the stone. We got to think about who can we put on mining. We do kind of, now that we're doing charcoal, we kind of need the firewood to continually be worked as well. We want this guy replanting trees. We want them logging. We want them fishing. So it doesn't look like we necessarily have a free family at the moment, but maybe in the next month we're getting close to April, I think, right? So when April comes, then we'll use that new family to work here at the mining pits, and then we'll start getting that clay coming in. And we're going to think ahead in anticipation about the roof tiles, right? So we're going to put our clay roof tile production building right here.
Step right up and sample.
Okay, we'll step up and sample, bro. I got you. Don't worry. So clay furnace coming in. We will get the goods that we need to upgrade the church here, and we'll upgrade a couple houses to level 2 and get to the next settlement level. And then I think honestly at that point, guys, you should be good to go to continue. If you were at this point in your own challenge run on the edge here, that you should be able to continue on and grow the town to the max settlement level, which is the victory condition for on the edge, and you should be good to go to do the rest of that. Without too much further instruction from this specific video, because we've at this point gotten through majority of the challenges that are specific to this run. So there we go, we got that new family, we got them assigned to clay, so we'll start getting some clay coming in. Once again, he just made another 250 sale. Look at that, 525. All of a sudden we're like ramping up on our economy very easily just from selling charcoal only. That's how strong charcoal is, guys. Okay, and then let's take a look. Where are we at with the stone? We still need more stone. We need 25 stone. So where are we at? 14. Okay, so we need a bit more on that. We have the planks that we need. We have the timbers. All right, so we're just waiting on the rest of this stuff to come in here. Clay. This will happen the clay comes in pretty quick, so we're already up to 8 clay. We only need 10 clay. So we need 10 clay, and then we're going to want to convert them into the roof tiles. So a couple more clay and we'll be ready for that. There we go. So we got 10, so we're going to move these guys to the furnace. We're going to get those 10 clay roof tiles produced. We need 7 more stone, and then we're going to be ready to upgrade our church. You just need another big sale. Look at that, 715 wealth. Look at our approval now. We're actually in the dark green now, meaning we are able to get 2 families to move in every month if we have the free spaces and whatnot available. So you can see, I mean, we have definitely overcome all the obstacles here pretty much by this point. Just gonna go ahead and get last couple upgrades here and get us into the second settlement level, and then I think that's going to be where we leave off for this video, guys. And I hope this has been very helpful for you. If not, I hope it's been, at least enjoyable or something. And, once again, these are all techniques that are, from other guides and tips and such that I've presented here on my channel, and just really showing how they can be put to use in a variety of different situations. Also, we can note here, look, we're getting vegetables coming in now too. We're getting a pretty sizable amount of vegetables coming in, to be honest. And this is just going to keep getting more and more, right? So if you get a really good sizable plot placed in pretty early on, and you get them started on it pretty early on, then it's going to be faster that they get to the point where they're at the maximum amount of production for that. But we're already getting decent amounts, so between the veggies, the fish, and the meats, or if we had berries instead of fish or whatever it was, we're looking pretty good. And we just keep ramping up. Okay, so those roof tiles are done. We got the stone that we needed, so we're going to take them off the roof tiles, take them off the stone. We're going to go ahead, do our church upgrade. We have 4 unassigned families, so that should happen in a decent amount of time. And I saw that there was another bandit camp that spawned, so we're going to go ahead and get another set of mercenaries. And just like we did before, we're going to go ahead and take care of that bandit camp very easily. There we go. We want to get on it as soon as possible to make sure that they don't steal any of our supplies. All right, church upgrade is coming in.
Perhaps he simply does not know how to cook properly.
Okay, and then we can go ahead and upgrade a couple of our houses as well. Looks like we need a bit more planks, which we can get taken care of here as well. Just assign someone there. We have free families available, so that's not too big of an issue. So our church is being upgraded. We're upgrading a couple of houses. Let's check in on these guys real quick. Yep, they are heading this way. Yep, see, they stole a bit of our supplies there. Look, it's just charcoal, so it's not too big of a deal. And once again, that's, stuff you want to look out for with these bandit camps. There we go. We'll take the camp. There we go. And we are done with you guys. Adios. Just like that. Nice and easy. Okay, and looks like our church is finishing up. A couple more planks come in. We can get a second house upgraded, and then we'll be at the next settlement level. There we go. Get that upgraded. Church is upgraded. Alright, so at this point, they're going to want ale, they're going to want a second tier of clothing, they're going to want more food, all that kind of stuff. But that's the kind of stuff, once again, that we're not going to dive too much further into this video here, because at this point, I think, once again, you guys should be good to go to progress through the rest of this playthrough as if it was any other playthrough. So we'll just show here that we'll get that, there we go, we got that second settlement level. Once again, at this point, you know, we could go into the apples if we wanted another food option that's really high production for low labor cost. Apiaries are also another option. We could go into the pond keeping to make sure that we can get more fish available, etc., etc. So we have options here. Once again, I'm not going to worry too much about the rest of this. I think this is going to be the end of this playthrough here, guys. And once again, I really hope you guys learned something or enjoyed the video, and let me know your thoughts, you know, any comments or feedback or anything. And yeah, thanks guys, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. It was a great run.